Alright, y'all, today we are talking Memphis Grizzlies on the not so special Halloween day recording of the 3 for 30 series. And although there isn't any Halloween themed stuff, I figured I'd throw on my little throwback Kevin Durant jersey in honor of the holiday. So, with that being said, let's get into the Memphis Grizzlies offseason preview. First on the agenda today is talking about recent acquisition for the Grizzlies, Justice Winslow, and how exactly he's going to be fitting into this roster. Now, for those who might not remember, Justice Winslow was a part of the trade between the Grizzlies and Heat at the last deadline, where the Heat got Andre Iguodala, Solomon Hill, and Jay Crowder in return for Justice Winslow and a few other pieces. And when it comes to Justice Winslow, the two very obvious problematic points that people are quick to point out are both his ability to stay healthy and his ability to score the basketball. And if we look back over his 5 seasons so far that he's been in the NBA, we can see that 2 of those seasons he did not even reach 20 games, and amongst the other 3 seasons he still has quite a few games that he's missed out on. While the health remains an issue for sure, we can look towards his final healthy season in Miami, where he did put up some solid shooting numbers and started to show improvements in his offensive game and his ability to, 1, shoot effectively from the outside, and 2, finish in the paint. Even if you don't believe in the offensive advances that Justice Winslow made during his last healthy season, I feel pretty safe in saying that Winslow is going to be a perfectly fine fit in this 2021 Memphis Grizzlies roster in offense and defense, all of it put together. And I say this because Justice Winslow showed his value as a playmaker on the starting lineup for the Miami Heat after Goran Dragic went out with an injury. And during that time, Winslow proved that he is very much capable of running an NBA offense. With that being said, the Grizzlies front office, who is relatively young and they were just put into the Grizzlies organization in the past couple of years, they went out and made this trade for Justice Winslow. Therefore, he was a target for them and someone that they wanted to get on their team, meaning that they envisioned some sort of role for him. And with this role, I can picture him being in the starting lineup and acting as both a secondary playmaker to John Morant while the stars are out there, but I could also see the Grizzlies using him as the main playmaker in some bench units, or if they want to run Tyus Jones with him, or even just Justice Winslow by himself on his own lineups. As for the potential shooting struggles, I think those will also go away, as Justice Winslow, when he is on the court with Tyus Jones and John Morant, they're going to be much better playmakers, and they're going to be able to get him the ball in opportune situations, unlike some of his days in Miami where Justice Winslow was one of the few above average playmakers on the team. Overall, the real thing to look for Justice Winslow next season will be if he can actually stay healthy and put together, like a 70 game season or, whatever, how many games the NBA is even going to play this next season. Health will definitely be the main thing to look out for Winslow and his ability to succeed in the organization. And that brings us to the second point on the board, which is to re-sign recent breakout player DeAnthony Melton. Melton originally slipped in his draft due to the fact that he had some issues, to put it lightly, while he was at USC, like I said, which caused him to slip a little bit in the draft, where the Suns would end up taking him, and then he was traded in the offseason as kind of just a throw-in piece in a trade between the Grizzlies and Suns. But the Grizzlies end up finding a solid role for the defensive player on their second unit, and DeAnthony Melton even got some run time with the starters and proved to be a valuable player to the team. While leading the Grizzlies in steals per game with 1.3 a game, he was also second in the league in steals per 36 minutes and deflections per 36 minutes, only behind other fellow rookie Matisse Thybulle of the 76ers, but he also proved to be a great rebounder on the defensive end, which is very valuable for a guard to have because nowadays, we're seeing it more and more with people like Luka Doncic and James Harden, where the guards are now just grabbing the rebounds and immediately pushing the ball up the floor. But even though Melton has proved to be a defensive menace in his short stay in the NBA, there are a lot of issues in his games. First one mainly being that he's a career 29% shooter from 3, and it's not just the 3-point line, he struggles pretty much shooting from anywhere on the court, and his playmaking's also been brought into question as a issue, but I don't really think this is going to be a problem as he remains with the Grizzlies. As I talked about in my previous point with Justice Winslow, he's going to have John Morant, Tyus Jones, and Winslow to carry the load at the playmaking positions. So at worst, you'll have DeAnthony Melton as a secondary playmaker on whatever lineup he is in. And even in that role, I don't see him struggling too much, as I don't think there'll be too much asked of him on that end of the floor. During the season, Melton actually made enough noise for the Ringer to want to make an article about him. Jonathan Tjarks mentioned him and Brandon Clarke in the same one for the Memphis Grizzlies in their all of a sudden rise to the potential 8 seed that they were on their way to getting prior to the restart. But in the article, he pretty much went over Melton's importance to the team, and he brought up an interesting fact that DeAnthony Melton actually had a better net rating than a lot of the NBA's star players around the league. And I know plus minus and on off numbers could get a little bit, misleading depending on the roles that players play, but nonetheless, it's a very impressive stat for DeAnthony Melton. And overall, like I said, the Grizzlies don't need Melton to be an all-star or anything special down the line. If he can continue down this path of being an all-defensive type player and just simply stick to his role, and all he needs to do at this point to be a really valuable role player is increase his shooting. And I mean, we've seen it with guys like Alex Caruso most recently for the Lakers. He played his role, he made his threes, played defense, made the hustle plays, and that's a similar role that I could envision DeAnthony Melton having for the team down the line, which makes it important that the Grizzlies decide to try and keep him long term this offseason. And then that brings us to the last point on the board, which is the Grizzlies might be looking to make an upgrade this offseason. Now, they don't have any cap space to go out and sign a big name free agent, but this new Grizzlies front office has quickly become known for making trades often and early. As we all witnessed this past season, the Grizzlies' young core has been built on solid defense and playmaking. We saw John Morant immediately come into the league and be one of the better passers and ability to play defense, along with guys like DeAnthony Melton that I already mentioned. Jaren Jackson is looking like he's going to become a great two-way player on both the defensive and rim protection and offensive, being able to stretch the floor. We see them with Dillon Brooks and Kyle Anderson at the wings, but I think, in my personal opinion, that those wings could be better and upgraded, so I came up with a few trades to help the Grizzlies out in this role. So the first trade I came up with is the Spurs deciding to give up DeMar DeRozan in order to get some young assets in return. In this trade, the Grizzlies are essentially upgrading that Dillon Brooks wing spot up to DeMar DeRozan, who, although he is a lot older, DeRozan's game is much more polished and efficient than what Dillon Brooks did, especially in this past season. And obviously, the Grizzlies would most likely only do this deal if they were assured that DeMar DeRozan would re-sign after his current contract ends for this upcoming season. But if they do somehow get a trade similar to this and end up with DeRozan could easily come in and be a bucket getter and be that closer that it's looking like the Grizzlies might need at this current point and where their team stands. I also threw in Tyler Zeller for the Grizzlies as a backup center in case that they can't find anyone on the free agency market that they like. They just get Zeller as a little, added bonus. But for the Spurs, the reason they might want to do this trade is they eat Gorgui Dieng's contract for this year, and then they also get Dillon Brooks, who is only 24 and is looking like he could easily become one of the better scorers in the league. He can mesh well, or at least better than DeRozan, with the current young core that the Spurs have with DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Keldon Johnson, and all those guys. Just the ages match up a bit more than having DeMar DeRozan, who is almost 10 years older than a lot of those guys. But at the end of the day, the Spurs would also be getting 2 first-round picks from the Grizzlies, which they might not be the highest picks in the first round, but who knows, the Grizzlies could either have some injuries or this whole entire rebuild might blow up in their face all of a sudden. Either way, a first-round pick is a first-round pick, and the Spurs would be glad to take 2 of them, while also getting rid of DeRozan before he has the chance to just up and leave them in free agency without getting anything in return for him. I also decided to try and work a deal with Buddy Hield, who has made it known that he is not exactly happy with his current situation in Sacramento. So I have the Kings offering up Hield and Bielika, where the Grizzlies in return would give up Gorgui Dieng, Kyle Anderson, Grayson Allen, and their first round pick in 2021. Now in this deal, the Grizzlies get Buddy Hield, who has proven to be one of the top 3-point shooters in the league and will instantly add some burst to their offense. And the Grizzlies have made it clear that they want to get out and run. They want to be a high-paced, high-scoring team, and Buddy Hield is the definition of that if you're a coach looking for some offensive talents, because Buddy Hield is pretty much all offense. Then I also threw in Bielika just because in giving up Dang and Kyle Anderson, the Grizzlies might want something big in return, and Bielika also just kind of made the contracts match a bit better in their terms of contracts coming in and going out, and he could give them a solid year and maybe re-sign if he wants, but who knows. As for the Kings, they get Gorgie Dang, who they're just kind of eating his contract for 1 year, which they would have done with Bielika anyway. They also get Kyle Anderson, who is still, I want to say 27, he's either 26 or 27, still relatively young and can be a solid wing for the Kings and just be a veteran presence for them. And they also get Grayson Allen, who is still very young and has a chance to grow into a valuable rotational piece, and he could just help fill that role that Buddy Hield leaves behind by being a bench shooting guard who can shoot threes, play defense, and just run up and down the floor with De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley. And then also for the Kings, they get the Grizzlies pick in 2021, which again could end up being anywhere from the low 10s to the mid 20s for all we know at this point. But either way, Kings could just get another solid player in what should be stacked draft next year. And that is it for the Grizzlies 3 for 30. I know that they were kind of constrained in the whole area of being able to make a lot of moves in this offseason, so I tried to come up with some sort of out-of-the-box ways for them to make a new addition and help in their push towards contention in the upcoming season. Either way, that will do it. This was the Grizzlies 3 for 30 video. As always, leave your comments down below on what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong, and other than that, leave a like, subscribe if you like this sort of content, and as always, most importantly, thank you for watching.